Let's talk about a few of those young guns that played in the place that you played in Edmonton. Did you get to watch much of Edmonton's playoff run? What did you think about how far they went and how far they pushed a pretty darn tested Anaheim Ducks team?
Well, I watch every game all night long, all the way to the West Coast, so I'm continually watching hockey all the time. I love the games in the playoffs. I love the intensity. I love watching the players challenge themselves or be challenged and overcome adversity and all that. So I love it. Well, I think I actually picked Edmonton in my pool to beat Anaheim.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they had a chance to beat them, and they proved that they almost did beat them.
You weren't allowed to pick against them, were you? Like, it would have been you know what I mean? Like, it's Mark Messier has to. It just feels right if you pick Edmonton to win the series, right?
That's true, but I bet with my heart and my head for them to beat them. So I was
there. You go.
I was
double barrel.
Them, so I thought they could beat them, but. I think they exceeded expectations for sure. There's no question. You can't say that anybody expected them to probably go into the conference finals and had a good chance to go to the conference finals this year. But it just goes to show you the advancement of the young players coming in that are game ready, have played big games, have had playoff experience, not at that level. And you could see the last game in Game 7 there where the experience might have hampered them a little bit there. Their puck management and gamesmanship maybe weren't quite there, but overall, what an incredible year for them as well.
Because Game 7s are different, right?
They are different. You know, if real estate's location, 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 Game 7s are execution, 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 and
right.
And it's a more cerebral game. You know, all the banging and all those things have kind of been taken care of early in the series, and you know, you've worn your opponent down. Game 7's become really about you know, a head game and a smart game and puck management and putting areas and protecting certain zones, and it is a different game for sure.
There was a lot of heat given to some of the younger skill guys on that Edmonton squad for not producing, at least goal-wise, in the postseason. And I always harken back to that story, and you can tell me if it's true or not, about when you guys with the Oilers, I believe '83 it was, you lose to the Islanders, walk by the dressing room, and they're in there, and you think there's going to be some hooping and some hollering and yelling and screaming, and they're just taking their gear off because they've paid the price to win it. Is that story true? And if so, can you get that buy-in from skill guys, and is that a key?
It is key, and it is true that we expected the big celebration, but you know, 4 Stanley Cups in 4 years, just the toll that it took on that team, and I mean, they were just taped together. By the time we ended up beating them in '84, I mean, they had guys that were playing on, you know, no knees and, you know, shoulder separations, and they just, you can imagine a team nowadays going to 4 straight Stanley Cup finals. You can barely get through one year, and then the next year the teams are having trouble just because of the physical and emotional and mental toll that it takes on you. But yeah, I think, look, at the toughest thing in hockey, I believe, is as a goal scorer, is to score in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because teams key on your strengths and try to expose your weaknesses. And so if you're a goal scorer, the number one thing that the other team is going to do is they're going to take your ability away to score. And you got to figure out ways to do it, and you got to figure out a way to be productive when you're not scoring. And what normally separates teams from others is the depth. And you know, we got great contributions in Edmonton all those years. You know, Kevin McClellan scoring a huge goal in Game 1 to, you know, we won 1-0 out of our, you know, they're shutting down Wayne. You know, they're, you know, everybody's having a tough time scoring, and but in the end, the great players figure out a way to get it done, and through history, they did do that.
Yeah. You mentioned depth, and one of the talking points right now at Edmonton is Leon Draisaitl. What do you do with Leon Draisaitl? In your opinion, is he a second-line center, or is he riding shotgun with Connor?
It'll just depend on the makeup of the team come next fall. You know, he's proven that he can play equally as well. He didn't take a back seat when he went and played on this second line and as a center iceman there, and gave more depth and created tougher matchups for the opposing teams. You know, I think one of the reasons why Pittsburgh won last year is they had, you know, Phil Kessel's line there. Playing against the other team's 5th and 6th defensemen, the other team's 3rd line, so there was a matchup irregularity there that most teams don't have the luxury of, and right. That's what you're always looking for in Stanley Cup playoffs, are mismatches, and how do you create mismatches there. So by Edmonton alleviating some of that pressure on the first line, and trying to get tougher matchups for Anaheim there, it caused a problem. Yeah, I think he's proven he can play either equally as well, and I think it's just a matter of what the other lines can do and who the makeup will be of those.
I got to ask you about Ryan Kesler, because obviously anyone who watched hockey knows that you were, a great leader, a great skill player, and you played on an edge, at times nasty. When you watch a guy like Ryan Kesler play and kind of play on that edge, maybe sometimes over that edge, some people pass it off as it's just tough playoff hockey. Is that tough playoff hockey you're seeing from Ryan Kesler, or is it him getting away with things that officials aren't calling?
Well, I think the one thing that I look at, and some people might not agree with or agree with, there's always a game inside the game going on. There's always a mental warfare that's happening, which has been going on. Yeah. I remember as a kid watching the isolation camera in between plays where there would be a huge battle going on in front of the net, and the puck wouldn't even be anywhere near that because they're fighting for territory. Right. So there's always the mental game that's happening there, and the intimidation. And look at it; it's a game for keeps out there. And if we can do something to deter a great player from not scoring goals or not being as productive, that's what you do. I mean, we're out there to win. Right. And obviously you got to do it within the rules of the game, and hopefully not take penalties and all that. But in the end, there's no rule book out there that says you can't do that. I mean, I saw Wayne carry guys around for 12 years in Edmonton, shadowing him. Right. Much more than that. I mean, you look at a guy like Getzlaff. Why wouldn't Edmonton do the same thing and get a guy he's 6'4", 230 pounds. He's got a mean streak, so he's a little tougher to do that against. But at the same time, you can still get them reactive. Once a player gets reactive there and starts taking penalties and frustrated, and it's about building confidence. And so
would it have been dealt with differently at all, though? You think?
Well, it becomes very difficult to deal with it directly there, because they want you to get reactive and take penalties, and once they do that, then they're winning and they got a chance to score. The difference of winning and losing these games is one simple play that might happen in neutral zone that on any given day during the regular season you wouldn't even notice it, but that led to the particular goal that wins the game there. So the margin of error becomes so small that any bad penalty taken or any kind of mistake like that can lead to a loss, and you don't have time to recover it.
Cody McLeod jumps somebody, gets 2-10, and all of a sudden they're down a man. You're wondering, was that the right thing to do, because he was trying to stick up for a teammate?
It's a fine line that we all walk at that particular time of year.
You walked it pretty well. You walked it pretty well.
Thank you.
Well, who in your career was really good at that game within the game? Who was excellent at it? And who sucked at it? Like, who was the worst trash talker you've ever heard? You're like, Bud, I'm tired. It's June. We're in Boston. Don't even start with me right now.
Yeah, we're all tired. Well, you'd have to start with Esa Tikkanen as being the best. I mean, incredible, because he could play both ends. He could play as tough as you wanted there. He could back himself up. He wasn't ever intimidated. He had an incredible amount of skill. He could score on you as he was checking on you. So if you could relax defensively playing against him, he could take it to you offensively. And just had an unbelievable knack of being irritating and getting under the other team's skin. Claude Lemieux, another great player, scored huge goals for Montreal. Became a tough guy to play against. 6'2", 235 pounds, aggressive player. Agitator, could get teams off their games, and those types of players become incredibly valuable. It's just very important part of the game come playoff time. And I don't know about the trash talking there. There's some great trash talkers, though. I don't know about the worst one, but there were some great ones.
Who's the best? You don't have to repeat what they said. This is a family show, obviously.
Well, Dave Semenko was pretty darn good. He was very witty.
I can imagine.
Very witty, very smart, very quick, very I don't know how he came up with these kinds of things, but he was great. He was funny on the bench.
And the best thing is Semenko could back it up too. If someone turned around and wanted to say, "Oh, it's Dave Semenko," I'm going the other way.
When that leg came over the boards coming out in the ice, I was like, "Oh, here comes a long arm of the law. Here he comes." Yeah.
Before we let you go, what do the Sens have to do to beat Pittsburgh? What's the one thing they have to be better at?
Well, the thing I love about the Senators this year is that they got a lot of belief, and it just shows you where you can go as a team and as a group, not as a group, as a team going forward. There, if everybody believes in what you're trying to do and they believe in the vision, they believe in the coach, they believe in what they're trying to accomplish and the way they're trying to accomplish it. And that's what Ottawa has done. And, you know, it took them a while to get their traction during the season because the way they play the game is very thoughtful in the way you got to be and positions you have to be on the ice and in order to make it work as a unit. And for them, I think they got to just continue on the way they played. You know, they got a great power play. Unfortunately, Pittsburgh doesn't take a lot of penalties, but they got a really good power play. And they're more talented than people give them credit for. They don't have the names that have really kind of been super high-end successful in the playoffs, and that's where you kind of make your name, is in the playoffs there. So they don't really get recognition for that, but they're very skilled, and they're playing as a team, and they're playing with a lot of belief, and that's a dangerous combination in the playoffs.
Listen, it's always great to have you come in here and bless us, not only to have the ability to talk to one of the best ever, but someone who's so thoughtful and appreciates the game as much as we do in here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for coming by and doing this.
Love to be here, you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you, guys.
He's Mark Messier, and you're not.
We aren't either, yeah.